It wasn't until I saw the marriage certificate between my husband and my sister-in-law that I understood why he had never wanted to get a marriage certificate with me. I questioned him frantically, while my sister-in-law covered her face and sobbed without saying a word, and my husband impatiently said, "Don't say such harsh things. There is no blood relation between Yang Yang and me. Moreover, since we never got a marriage certificate, technically, you are the mistress." The ungrateful child rolled their eyes at me. "Enough already, you never deserved my dad anyway. They are a legitimate couple. They are the victims for not being able to walk in the sunlight because of you." I was so angered by these words that my heart nearly gave out, yet no one came to my rescue. Open my eyes again. My husband once again said he wouldn't register our marriage but would just hold a ceremony, and this time I directly picked up a broom and kicked the two of them out the door. Then I turned around and went next door, looking at the man in front of me and saying, "Is the marriage contract still valid? Sister-in-law, whether we get a marriage certificate or not is not important at all. In my heart, you are my only sister-in-law, and in my brother's heart, you are also his only love. Isn't that enough? Besides, if we hold a banquet, who in the 10 miles and 8 townships wouldn't know that you are a couple? Everyone will say you are the wife of a college student. How impressive is that? Why do we have to get a marriage certificate?" My soon-to-be sister-in-law and good friend, Zhong Shuqin, was gently holding my hand and speaking, while my partner, Cassian Zhong, sat beside me with an impatient look on his face. However, both of their eyes were filled with the same expectation, waiting for me to nod. Looking at the familiar scene before me, I was momentarily stunned. Didn't I die? I turned my head stiffly to look at the mirror beside me, and the reflection showed a version of myself that looked to be in my 20s, not the old woman in her 50s who had been bent over with exhaustion. In an instant, I understood. I had been reborn, in my previous life. It was under Zhong Shuqin's persistent persuasion that I agreed not to get a marriage certificate, and after a small banquet, I ended up marrying Cassian Zhong in a daze. After marrying him, I first supported Cassian Zhong through college, and a few years later, I used my money to support Zhong Shuqin's education, serving both of them like a maid, and I even gave birth to a pair of excellent children for Cassian Zhong. But it wasn't until 30 years later that I learned that Cassian Zhong and Zhong Shuqin were actually not blood-related siblings. They publicly claimed to be siblings, but secretly they were a married couple. I dedicated my life to the two of them, only to end up as the mistress, ultimately driven to death by anger. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but wish to take out the newly bought kitchen knife and chop the two of them into pieces, but I held back. Firstly, rebirth is not easy, and secondly, I simply couldn't overpower them, so I just shook off Zhong Shuqin's hand and coldly snorted, "Fine, then we won't get a marriage certificate." Zhong Shuqin and Cassian Zhong were pleased, but before they could say anything, I sneered and continued, "Anyway, I don't have to marry into the Zhong family." "What do you mean?" Cassian Zhong suddenly stood up, his face full of mockery. "Is it fun to play this kind of cat-and-mouse game with me? How many girls are lining up for me to consider? I haven't even looked at them. I've always firmly chosen you. And here you are, making a fuss over a marriage certificate. Let me tell you, Tessa Cheng, you should take a look at your own conditions. As an orphan, it's a loss for me, a college student, to want to marry you, not the other way around." It's no wonder that Cassian Zhong is so confident. He is handsome, and although his academic performance is poor and his family is quite poor, somehow he managed to get into university, bringing honor to his family. Although my family is well off, for the past 2 years, I have been pursuing Cassian Zhong, cooking for him, doing his laundry, cleaning for him, and spending quite a bit of money on him. Moreover, Cassian Zhong is not wrong. I am an orphan, with no father or mother, and I am not very appealing in the marriage market. However, Cassian Zhong has forgotten the most important thing. I have money. I can say without exaggeration that I am the only person in the 1980s who could afford to eat meat at every meal. If it weren't for me, how could Cassian Zhong and Zhong Shuqin go to school without a care in the world? How could they become someone important? Thinking of this, my expression became even more disdainful. They say the emperor's daughter doesn't worry about marriage. Although I'm not a princess, everyone knows I'm the best catch in the area. Marrying me would elevate any family, so how is it that you are the one at a disadvantage? Don't put on this act of living off others in front of me. You, a college student, are not even worth my time." Zhong Shuqin was taken aback, and she awkwardly smiled. "Sister-in-law," Cassian Zhong shouted. "Shuqin, let's go, don't pay any attention to her. Just wait and see, within 3 days, she will definitely come begging me for forgiveness. Although I need her money, without me, she won't be able to keep that money." After saying that, Cassian Zhong didn't give me a chance to speak and left, holding Zhong Shuqin's hand tightly, watching the two of them walk away, their hands tightly clasped. I could only feel the irony. What kind of blind person was I in my previous life that I couldn't see the problems between them? After the two of them left, I wasn't very happy because Cassian Zhong was right. Marrying him was actually a win-win situation for both of us. It wasn't just because I, being infatuated, liked him a lot, but also because I needed him. To be precise, I needed to get married. My parents passed away due to illness, leaving me with quite a bit of inheritance. If it were 30 years later, I wouldn't need to get married at all, but this time is different. My parents' relatives are eyeing my inheritance. Each one has already arranged a partner for me, waiting for me to marry so they can swallow up my assets. Only a strong son-in-law can deter them. Although Cassian Zhong is not the live-in son-in-law of my family, he is a university student, and no one dares to provoke him. In my previous life, it was because of this matter that Cassian Zhong and Zhong Shuqin were able to hold me to my request of not getting a marriage certificate. Although I was very reluctant, I agreed to marry Cassian Zhong without a certificate in a muddled way to protect my parents' assets. They say men fear entering the wrong profession, and women fear marrying the wrong man. In my previous life, I married the wrong Cassian Zhong, which ultimately led to my death from anger. But this time, if I don't marry him, who else can I marry? Not to mention whether I am willing to marry at all. Who would be willing to offend both my parents' relatives and a college student for a woman who has been in a relationship with someone else? In the following days, Cassian Zhong waited for me to apologize, while Zhong Shuqin came several times, probably hoping to persuade me like in my previous life. However, I didn't open the door at all because I was also overwhelmed at home, not knowing what to do. So I couldn't be bothered to see her and engage in a war of words. It wasn't until I heard the barking of a dog next door that I suddenly realized, yes, and him too. I killed a chicken, made a bowl of chicken soup, dressed up, and knocked on the neighbor's door. I had prepared what to say, but I couldn't bring myself to say it because I was too shy. After a long time, I finally managed to say, "Is our engagement still valid?" When I said this, my neighbor Zhong Zuren was also taken aback. He scratched his head and said in confusion, "Our engagement, valid? What do you mean?" I gritted my teeth and said, "You should know that we are betrothed, even though our parents are no longer around. You must be aware of this engagement, right?" I have been thinking for a long time at home these past few days, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't come up with a good solution, until I heard Zhong Zuren's dog barking and remembered him. Zhong Zuren and I are neighbors. When we were still in our mother's wombs, our parents had a good relationship, so they jokingly said they would arrange a marriage for us. Although I don't dislike Zhong Zuren, I always feel that I am not a person from the feudal old society. If I am to marry, I must choose for myself. So I absolutely refused to acknowledge this engagement. The parents of both sides were just joking, so they naturally wouldn't insist. Later, when Zhong Zuren's parents passed away, and with the current emphasis on marriage freedom, the engagement became even less valid. The reason I sought him out this time was actually something I had thought through carefully. He grew up with me, and I know him inside and out. Moreover, in my previous life, I suffered a lot with Cassian Zhong, and he had once stood up for me. Unfortunately, it wasn't long before he committed suicide by jumping into the river. If he could marry me, I could save myself and even save him from his suicide, which would be a win-win situation. I handed him the soup and said, "Trust me, marrying me will definitely not be a loss." I had prepared a basket full of words and wanted to continue speaking, but Zhong Zuren smiled and nodded. "All right, then let's get married." After saying that, Zhong Zuren handed the chicken soup back to me. "You should drink this." I've noticed you've been restless these past few days and have lost weight. I touched my face. Have I really lost weight? How come I didn't notice? Moreover, in my previous life, Cassie and Jong always said I was too fat and had a round face, forcing me to eat and drink less. I always thought I was really overweight, but now I realize that, in the eyes of those who care about me, I am quite thin. I drank the chicken soup in one go. I don't know if it's because of the tears, but it felt a bit salty. After finishing the chicken soup, I worried that the night would bring more dreams. So I immediately dragged Jong Zerin to get our marriage certificate, and before long, we received our own marriage certificate. Looking at my name finally appearing on the marriage certificate, I couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. Something I had longed for my entire life was finally in my hands, and I couldn't help but shed tears. Jong Zerin was taken aback. Why are you crying? If you regret it, you don't have to hold back. We can go get a divorce right away. And I'll just say that I forced you into getting the marriage certificate with our engagement. I cried even harder. Jong Zerin quickly continued, don't worry, if it's a misunderstanding with Cassie and Jong, I can explain it to him. I shook my head. No, I'm happy. I do have regrets. I deeply regret not noticing how good Jong Zerin was to me in my previous life. So I wiped my tears and said seriously, however, from now on, you have to listen to me about everything. And you must tell me if something is wrong. You absolutely cannot keep it to yourself, and you must never seek to end it all. Jong Zerin nodded repeatedly. Jong Zerin and I did not go home immediately. Instead, we began to arrange the wedding. We split into two groups. One went to inform everyone about our wedding and invite them to attend, while the other went to find someone to help arrange the banquet. Soon, everyone in the surrounding villages knew that I was getting married and hosting a banquet. In this era, opportunities to enjoy good food are rare, and everyone was looking forward to it. The news about my wedding banquet quickly reached Cassie and Jong Shuqin, so when I went out to borrow tables and chairs, Cassie and Jong Shuqin suddenly appeared in front of me, blocking my way. Heh, weren't you saying you wouldn't marry me? Yet here you are. Obediently preparing for the wedding banquet, I frowned and was about to speak when Cassie and Jong waved his hand to interrupt me. Alright, there's no need to apologize. I won't really be angry with you. But as a punishment, the wedding banquet has to be cancelled. As soon as he finished speaking, Jong Shuqin walked up to me and smiled. Sister-in-law, it's not that the wedding banquet is cancelled, it's just that it needs to be on a smaller scale. Think about it. My brother just started college and is being so high profile. People are definitely going to talk about us. Moreover, if you go all out like this, it will definitely cost a lot of money. My brother has many expenses for his studies, and you will definitely want to have children, which will also require spending money everywhere. So you should go and tell everyone not to come. We can just invite a few relatives to keep it simple. I can't hold back any longer. I just sat down in the chair. Cassie and Jong Shuqin, are you both crazy? What does it have to do with you if I spend my own money? What does it have to do with me if your brother needs money for school? He's not my son. Am I supposed to support him? And, don't call me sister-in-law anymore. I have nothing to do with this wedding banquet. Do you understand? After I finished speaking, Cassie and Jong was almost driven to death by my words. What on earth are you talking about? How is this not related to me? You are holding a wedding banquet. I am the groom. Your people, your money, all belong to me. How can this not be related to me? Are you out of your mind? I was originally thinking that since you took the initiative to hold the wedding banquet, I would forgive you, but since you are acting so crazy, I will tell you that I will not attend the wedding banquet. I advise you to cancel it immediately, otherwise, the one who will be embarrassed is you. I didn't even have the chance to say the words crazy, and Cassie and Jong once again dragged Jong Shuqin away. After this incident, Cassie and Jong did not come looking for me again, probably thinking that I was a bit too proud, giving face but not taking it. So he must find a way to diminish my prestige. Jong Shuqin has come several times, but based on my understanding of the two, I know very well that she is just here to act as a mediator, and her lines are definitely prepared by Cassie and Jong, so what Jong Shuqin says each time is pretty much the same. Sister-in-law, my brother said those were all jokes. We will definitely come to the wedding banquet, but when my brother comes, you must sincerely apologize. You have made my brother suffer several times, and that is already your mistake. Don't think that apologizing is embarrassing. As long as you marry in, you will be the wife of a college student, and people will envy you wherever you go. By the way, school is about to start, so hurry up and bring my brother's tuition fees. No matter how much we argue, we're getting married, so don't let it affect the start of school. Even though I explained everything clearly to Jong Shuchin every time, she simply didn't believe me and thought I was lying just to get Cassie and Jong to marry me. I was also busy with the wedding preparations. And after refusing to give her money, I stopped responding to Jong Shuchin. She was a bit worried, but after seeing the lanterns I customized with the characters Jong and Chen, she thought I was just bluffing and didn't bother to persuade me anymore. Soon it was the day of the wedding, and many people from nearby came. If I hadn't directly connected my yard with Jong Zuren's, we probably wouldn't have had enough space for all these guests. Halfway through the wedding banquet, Cassie and Jong Shuchin finally arrived late. Seeing that everyone had already started eating, Cassie and Jong was almost furious. He stood at the entrance of the courtyard and shouted, "Tessa Cheng, are you out of your mind? I haven't even arrived, and you've already started the meal." As soon as he finished speaking, the guests at the wedding banquet were shocked and immediately began to discuss among themselves, "How did he get here? Aren't they already broken up? It's clearly a problem to attend the wedding banquet after breaking up. It's so strange. Why does the ex-girlfriend have to wait for him to start the banquet? Look at Cassie and Jong, he's still wearing a red outfit. Isn't he here to steal the bride? I have to say, he really does look like a groom in that outfit." Listening to everyone's words, Cassie and Jong finally realized that he didn't seem to be the main character of this wedding banquet. Meanwhile, the real main characters, I and Jong Zuren, were wearing our wedding attire and toasting. Cassie and Jong's face finally changed. "Tessa Cheng, what do you mean by this? I said I wouldn't attend the wedding banquet, and you let someone else take my place to marry you. Are you really out of your mind?" Jong Shuchin was also scared to death. "Sister-in-law, you better come over quickly. If this goes on, my brother will really get angry, and I won't be able to help you then." I frowned and said, "Cassie and Jong, look clearly. I didn't ask anyone to replace you in marrying me. I want to marry Jong Zuren. And stop looking at me with that kind of gaze. You were the one who said you wouldn't marry me and wanted to break up. We have no relationship anymore. So who I marry is none of your business." "Impossible," Cassie and Jong shouted, crazily grabbing my hand. "How could you marry him? You like me so much. We already set a wedding date. How can you just say you're marrying someone else?" Jong Zuren pushed Cassie and Jong away and protected me behind him. "If you two are here to celebrate the wedding, please take a seat. If you're here to act crazy, then please leave. No need to see you off." This is the first time I've seen him lose his temper. He has always been very gentle in front of me. He has never even raised his voice, let alone gotten angry like this. Although Cassie and Jong was a bit scared, he still didn't leave. Instead, he stood by and said, "Tessa, I know I was wrong. Don't make a scene. Come over here and drive him away. We are the couple, after all." Although I know Cassie and Jong is confident, I never expected him to be this confident. It was already a done deal. Yet he still thought I was pretending to be married just to make him angry. He actually believed that if he casually said he was wrong, I would quickly forgive him and continue living with him as his wife. It's simply insane. I ignored Cassie and Jong and walked straight into the house. Taking out my marriage certificate with Jong Zuren, however, I didn't show it to Cassie and Jong. Instead, I handed it to the village chief. "Chief, can you help me prove whether Zuren and I are a legal couple? Where did we go wrong in holding our wedding banquet?" The village chief looked at the marriage certificate and walked over to Cassie and Jong. "Cassian, Tessa, and Zuren are indeed a couple. They already had a marriage agreement. Even if you like Tessa, you can't act like this. A real man shouldn't behave so shamelessly." Others chimed in. "Yeah, just leave. This is so embarrassing." Cassie and Jong staggered a few steps, staring at me intently. "Tessa, do you really want me to leave?" I shook my head, and Cassie and Jong's eyes lit up, while Jong Shuchin let out a sigh of relief. "I knew you wouldn't." I continued, "You can leave. But I remember this outfit you're wearing was made by me. I don't think you deserve to wear my clothes, so I want you to take it off. I'll have Wang-Tsai wear it. Wang-Tsai. Cassian Zhong was taken aback. Woof woof woof. Wang-Tsai heard someone calling him and immediately raised his head to bark a few times. Cassian Zhong's face turned dark with anger. He finally realized I was mocking him, saying he was even worse than a dog. Tessa Cheng, you are going too far, I snorted coldly. What, you, a college student, aren't going to try to claim this outfit, are you? Cassian Zhong was almost fainting with rage. Trembling as he took off the clothes and threw them on the ground, gritting his teeth and saying, "You will regret this." After saying that, he stumbled out of the wedding banquet, and Zhong Shuqin hesitated for a moment before finally chasing after him, without Cassian Zhong and Zhong Shuqin causing trouble. The wedding banquet proceeded successfully. On the wedding night, Zhong Zuran hugged the blanket and said he wanted to sleep outside, but I stopped him. "I see all the good you've done for me. I did indeed date Cassian Zhong before, but that was all in the past. We are married now, so you don't need to sleep outside." Zhong Zuran still seemed a bit hesitant. Perhaps he thought I married him out of spite and was afraid I would regret it. Holding the blanket without making a move, I frowned and continued, "Does this mean that you don't truly want to marry me since you won't live with me? Are you planning to divorce me?" Zhong Zuran quickly shook his head, immediately put the blanket back in the cabinet, and then closed the door. On our wedding night, Zhong Zuran was very gentle. I didn't even feel much pain, which was almost a world apart from my wedding night in my previous life. At that time, Cassian Zhong was extremely rough with me, almost making me faint from the pain, and right after it ended, he used the excuse of needing to help Zhong Shuqin review her studies, leaving me alone in the empty room. But at that time, I was not angry at all. Instead, I foolishly endured the discomfort and got up to make a late-night snack for the two of them. Every time I think of this, I can't help but want to slap myself a few times. It wasn't just on the wedding night. My married life is even happier because both Zhong Zuran and I have no parents, so I don't have to get up early to serve my in-laws like in my previous life, serving Cassian Zhong and Zhong Shuqin. I only need to sleep until the sun is high in the sky and then eat the breakfast prepared for me by Zhong Zuran. Having lived two lives, this kind of life is something I never even dared to dream of. However, while I was living a sweet life with Zhong Zuran, the Cassian Zhong family was in despair. A few days later, Zhong Shuqin came to my doorstep with a mournful face. I was originally too lazy to go open the door, but Zhong Shuqin's cries were so loud that they attracted many neighbors, so I reluctantly opened the door. In just a month, Zhong Shuqin had become much haggard, and there were even wounds on her face. I found it laughable. It seemed that Cassian Zhong had hit her, although Cassian Zhong is a college student. His knowledge and character are completely mismatched with his identity. Not only is his behavior crude, but he also often resorts to violence. It is likely that Cassian Zhong thinks he didn't marry me because of Zhong Shuqin's responsibility, which is why he resorts to violence against her. Ironically, in my previous life, Cassian Zhong felt that marrying me and having children with me was very unfair to Zhong Shuqin, so he treated her very well, as if she were his ideal. I didn't expect that without me, the love-struck fool, even the ideal would have to face consequences. Zhong Shuqin almost knelt down when she saw me. "Sister-in-law, no, Tessa, please go see my brother, he's very seriously ill. I beg you to go check on him." My hatred for Zhong Shuqin and Cassian Zhong is the same, but at this moment, they haven't registered their marriage yet, and I couldn't think of any way to take revenge on them, so I coldly shook off Zhong Shuqin's hand. "If he's sick, he should see a doctor. What use is it to find me? I'm not a doctor." Zhong Shuqin was taken aback, and it was clear that she thought even if I was marrying out of spite, I must still love Cassian Zhong in my heart. Hearing that Cassian Zhong was ill, I should have gone to see him immediately, and my attitude should not have been so indifferent. Seeing that Zhong Shuqin had not left, I smiled and said, "What? Could it be that your family has no money and is waiting for me to give you money to hire a doctor? If so, you have come to the wrong place. I am not a fool." As soon as these words were spoken, the onlookers burst into laughter. Zhong Shuqin's face turned red and pale, and she suddenly shouted, "Tessa Cheng, how can you be so shameless? You clearly started discussing marriage with my brother, and he turned down so many proposals for you, but because my family has no money, he silently married someone else. Don't you think that's too much? Although you and my brother are not officially married, you have long been a couple. Your behavior is considered adultery in ancient times, and it deserves to be punished. Regardless of the era, rumors can have a devastating impact on a woman. So the onlooking neighbors couldn't help but start gossiping. Actually, I found it strange long ago. Tessa Cheng was so good to Cassie and Zhong back then. Yeah. And yet she inexplicably ended up marrying Zhong Zuran. So it was all because of money. Oh my, are they already married? Does that mean Tessa Cheng? As I saw everyone getting more and more harsh with their words, Zhong Shuqin's expression grew increasingly smug. I didn't get angry out of shame. Instead, I suddenly knelt down in front of Zhong Shuqin and said, Shuqin, why are you spreading rumors? I've been so good to you. How can you say such things? I did indeed date your brother. But everyone knows that you were present every time we met. Now you're saying that your brother and I are already married. What does that even mean? Are you implying that the three of us were involved in that kind of thing? No matter how capable Zhong Shuqin is, at this moment she is just an 18-year-old girl, and of course, she can't compare to me, a woman in her 50s with such thick skin. I stammered, no, I mean, our Zhong family has long regarded you as a daughter-in-law. It's better not to mention it. Once I did, I cried even harder. Shuqin, you were there when your brother broke up with me that day, and even the neighbors should have heard it. What did your brother say? That getting married is fine, but getting a marriage certificate is not. What is wrong with me, Tessa Cheng, that I can't get a marriage certificate? Should I just be a concubine for the Zhong family? Is it that once you become a college student, you have to marry 2 wives? Zhong Shuqin retreated repeatedly. The matter of getting a marriage certificate can be discussed. How can you just inexplicably get married? Inexplicably, Zhong Zuran stepped out the door. I already have a marriage contract with Tessa. Your family moved in later. But the other neighbors are all very clear about it. Your brother wants to use the method of taking a concubine to bring Tessa home in a muddled way. Tessa is unwilling and then breaks the marriage contract with me. What's wrong with that? With Zhong Zuran by my side, I felt more confident in my words. Zhong Shuqin no longer dared to say more and ran away covering her face. The neighbors understood through what was just said. It's not that I'm fickle, but it's Cassie and Zhong who is being unreasonable. Zhong Zuran took my hand and said, Tessa, you've been wronged. Let's go report this to the police and make her pay. I was just about to nod. But the neighbors continued to hold my hand and persuade me earnestly. Tessa, you have been wronged in this matter, but Cassie and Zhong is a college student who will eventually become a high-ranking official. They say that common people should not fight against officials, so you must not cause any more trouble. That's right. Cassie and Zhong has always been very good to his sister. You can't go against him with such a weak stance. Although you and Zuran have some money, in the end, you are still ordinary people. Anyway, everyone already knows the truth, so it's better not to call the police. Zhong Zuran held my hand and said, even if it means I have to go to jail, even if it means I have to die, I cannot let you suffer. I lowered my eyes. Ever since my rebirth, I have constantly thought about taking revenge on Cassie and Zhong Shuqin. But how can I get my revenge? Should I go around saying they are having an affair? Without evidence, who would believe what I say? I thought for a moment and ultimately decided not to let Zhong Zuran report it to the police, but instead pulled him into the room and said firmly, no police report, let's go to college instead. Zhong Zuran's expression was not very good. He sighed and said, actually, I have already taken the exam once, but I didn't pass. Maybe my abilities are lacking. In my previous life, I was solely focused on Cassie and Zhong and had no idea that Zhong Zuran was also taking the university entrance exam. Seeing his dejected face, I patted his hand and said, don't worry, if that useless Cassie and Zhong can pass, you can too. Besides, we are taking the exam together and will supervise each other. We will definitely succeed. It was clear that Zhong Zuran still didn't really want to take the exam, but he nodded habitually and said, okay, I'll listen to you. 14. I am not bragging. In my previous life, in order to have more common ground with Cassie and Zhong, I worked very hard to study. I even took practice exams and scored higher than Cassie and Jong, so I am very confident that I can get into college, and I can also tutor Jongzerin, as long as he is not too foolish. He will definitely be able to get in as well. I went to buy review materials, studying on my own while tutoring Jongzerin. I didn't realize it until I started tutoring. But Jongzerin is very smart. Given this situation, we will definitely be able to get into college. In the days that followed, Jongzerin and I turned a deaf ear to the outside world, focusing solely on our studies of the sages. It wasn't until a week before university started that the arrival of Cassie and Jong Shuqin once again disrupted my peaceful life. Cassie and Jong looked very anxious. As soon as I opened the door, he pulled Jong Shuqin in and said, "Tessa, I know I was wrong. And I'm willing to get a marriage certificate with you. You need to divorce Jongzerin immediately, and then we can get our marriage certificate. I won't care about your marriage with Jongzerin. Can we go back to how we were before?" Of course I know that Cassie and Jong doesn't really know he was wrong. I'm somewhat speechless. What are you pretending for? Is it just because school is about to start, so you want to get back together with me and have me support you through college? I'm telling you clearly, it's impossible. My relationship with Zerin is very good, and we cannot get a divorce. After saying that, I opened the door again. Get lost, don't make me say it a second time. But Cassie and Jong Shuqin not only did not leave, but exchanged glances and nodded at each other. Before I could react, Cassie and Jong directly pulled out a knife and held it to my neck. Jong Shuqin quickly closed the door. The two of them tied me to the chair. Having been reborn with great difficulty, I naturally cherish my life, so I calmly said, "Cassie and Jong, you've worked hard to get into college. Are you really going to ruin yourself for me? Moreover, my husband is about to come back. What you are doing is illegal. You need to think this through." Jong Shuqin let out a cold laugh. "Heh, stop pretending. We saw it when we came here." Jongzerin rode out on his bike, heading towards the market. He won't be back for a while. Cassie and Jong frowned and said, "What's the point of talking to her? We have important matters to attend to." I felt a bit nervous and asked, "What exactly do you want?" "If it's money." Cassie and Jong didn't answer me. Instead, he unbuckled his belt, saying, "Money? I don't want your money. What I want is you. As long as I sleep with you and then tell everyone that you seduced me, everyone will definitely believe me, a college student, rather than you, a fickle woman. When Jongzerin comes home, no matter how much he likes you, he will definitely divorce you. After the divorce, I will marry you, and everything about you will belong to me. At that time, you will still have to obediently support me through school and serve me for a lifetime." As soon as I heard about serving him for a lifetime, everything from my previous life flashed before my eyes like a slideshow. No, I never want to live those days again. I started struggling like a madwoman, calling for help, but as soon as I shouted once, Jong Shuqin covered my mouth and said, "Brother, hurry up." I was pinned down by the two of them, unable to make a sound, and just when I thought I was done for, the closed door was kicked open by someone. Cassie and Jong was pulled away by Jongzerin and thrown into the corner. The sound of Jongzerin kicking the door attracted quite a few neighbors. He took off his coat and draped it over me, comforting me by saying, "It's okay. It's all over now." Hearing that familiar voice, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, but at that moment, I was disheveled. What if he misunderstood me? I hurriedly explained, "I didn't, you came just in time, he didn't do anything." Jongzerin nodded, "I believe you. And it doesn't matter whether it happened or not. I will only feel heartache for you, not blame you, because all of this is my fault. I didn't protect you well, which caused you to be hurt." Cassie and Jong grimaced in pain but dared not say much. After all, he was no match for Jongzerin, especially with so many people present. Jong Shuqin naturally understood this, so she quickly helped him up and wanted to leave. The neighbors immediately realized what was happening and quickly surrounded Cassie and Jong Shuqin, not allowing them to leave. They even called for the village chief to mediate on my behalf. Cassie and Jong said confidently, "It was Tessa Cheng who called me here. We are having an affair, and having an affair is not illegal. You all step aside. I am a college student." Jong Shuqin nodded repeatedly. Yes, I can confirm that it was Tessa Cheng who called us over. She said she wanted my brother. It was all her initiative. We haven't committed any crime." Before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted by the village chief, who pointed at the knife on the ground and the rope beside it, saying, "Did she call you here? Did she ask you to bring a knife to tie her up? Moreover, they are having an affair. What does it mean for you, as her sister, to come here? Do you think we are fools? Cassian Jong, you are the first college student in our county, and we have high hopes for you. Is this how you repay us?" Jong Zurin calmed me down and brought me to the village chief. "Chief, as you can see, he illegally broke into my home and attempted to assault my wife. This matter must be reported to the police. Even if I lose everything, I will pursue this to the end." Upon hearing the words "call the police," Cassian Jong completely went mad, screaming that they couldn't call the police, and then recklessly picked up a weight from the side and smashed it down on Jongzurin's head. Although I have already warned to be careful, however, Jongzurin still collapsed weakly. I was almost scared out of my wits, but I told myself not to panic. I tried hard not to be afraid, and finally, with the help of the village chief, I got Jongzurin to the hospital. Fortunately, fate was still on our side. Although Jongzurin lost quite a bit of blood, he was only diagnosed with a mild concussion. Jongzurin was in a coma for a few days, but finally woke up. I cried so hard that I could hardly catch my breath. To comfort me, Jongzurin smiled and said, "During the days I was unconscious, I kept dreaming, and those dreams were quite interesting. But you can only take what I say as entertainment. You can't get angry." I stopped crying and asked, "What dream?" Jongzurin thought for a moment and said, "In the dream, you weren't my wife. I saw you, heavily pregnant, still working hard early in the morning. You looked terrifyingly thin. But your belly was huge. I felt sorry for you and couldn't help but try to assist you. But instead, it ended up getting you scolded by your husband." I was taken aback for a moment. This is not a dream. This is something that really happened in my previous life. I immediately continued, "And then, what else did you dream about?" Seeing that I wasn't angry, Jongzurin continued, "The dream was a bit blurry, but I dreamt that I was very angry and went to find your husband. It seemed like your husband had taken something from me, and I wanted him to give it back. He refused, and in the end, he knocked me out and threw me into the river." At this point, Jongzurin smiled and said, "Maybe he took you away, and I wanted him to return you to me." My heart was in turmoil. Was Jongzurin's death in the previous life not a suicide, but rather a murder orchestrated by my husband? I had a very terrifying thought in my mind, but I didn't tell Jongzurin. Instead, I made an excuse to go cook for him and fled the hospital as if escaping. I didn't go home. Instead, I went to the police station to find Cassian Jong. When Cassian Jong saw me, he nearly cried out, "I was wrong. I was wrong. I don't want anything anymore. Please let me go, Tessa. None of this is my fault. It's all Jong Shuqin's doing. She suggested it, and the responsibility should all fall on her. You have to go help me explain. I will remember your kindness. And when I graduate from university, I will definitely repay you." I ignored Cassian Jong's cries and sternly questioned, "Did you steal Jongzurin's university admission notice?" At that moment, Cassian Jong was terrified and immediately admitted it. It turned out that Jongzurin was the one who got into university, and Jong Shuqin helped Cassian Jong steal Jongzurin's admission notice. Later, when Jongzurin, who was trying to take the university entrance exam again, discovered the truth and confronted Cassian Jong, he was murdered by Cassian Jong. I finally understand the truth of everything. Fortunately, in this life, it's still not too late. Half a month later, Jongzurin has almost recovered and is finally able to be discharged from the hospital. But he doesn't remember anything he said about those dreams. Instead, he looked shocked and said, "Cassian Jong stole my admission notice," and was sentenced to death for multiple crimes, including a charge of hooliganism. I nodded, yes, that Jong Shuqin was sentenced to 30 years for being an accomplice. The verdict has already been announced. Moreover, Cassian Jong and Jong Shuqin were so scared inside that they not only confessed to their crimes but also admitted to their relationship. It turns out that the two of them appeared to be siblings on the surface, but secretly they had long been married. As a result, not only did they face legal consequences, But their parents were also unable to continue living here and moved away overnight. Jongzerin was still a bit shocked. But I didn't expect this naive person to react to such matters. I simply placed the admission notice in his hand, and it wasn't until he received his own admission notice that he came to his senses, hugged me, and said, "Wife, you are my lucky star. If it weren't for you, I would never have known that I had actually been accepted into university long ago." Speaking of this verdict, I feel a bit emotional. Cassian Jong ruined my life and caused the death of Jongzerin. So in this life, he must pay with his life. Jong Shuqin kept me in the dark, making me suffer for 30 years. So she deserves to spend 30 years in prison to repay that. This must be what they call karma. Not long after, Cassian Jong carried out the death penalty. While Jongzerin took the notice and went to university, I accompanied him to rent an apartment near the university, as I didn't need to take care of a large family and only needed to focus on my studies. So, a year later, I also successfully got into university, and together with Jongzerin, we embraced the wonderful life that belonged to us.